At the start of the movie, we witness Anna, a US citizen pursuing her PhD at Oxford University, kneeling and crying as she listens to a recording of herself and her mother playing the piano. Suddenly, a person with a gun leans on her shoulder. The scene changes, and we are taken several days before the incident where Anna is going about her usual routine of her day. After going for a run and having her breakfast, she heads out to the lab where she conducts several experiments. After going through most of the tests like she normally does, she notices a repeated anomaly on test 17. While trying to figure out the difference, Nate arrives hoping to take her out with her undergraduate students for some beer, but she manages to keep him there by telling him about the anomaly. Pouring coffee for both of them, they discuss the possibility of atom relocation caused by their experiment. Coming up with a theory, Anna and Nate try out the experiment, but it blows up their equipment, making them realize they need new equipment. Proposing a new theory, Anna informs Nate that to stress test a molecule, she requires assistance in reconfiguring the process to consume less power and avoid crashing the server once more. This prompts him to reluctantly seek help from Liv, whom he has a strained relationship with. The next day, Nate and Anna rendezvous with Liv and explain their objectives to her. Despite Nate's concerns about the legality of their actions, he eventually relents. The next day, the team equips their lab with additional gear and intensifies their research, successfully enhancing the movement of objects from pins to marbles. After several tries, the group realized that they could teleport any object to the desired location. Excited by their discovery, they decide that they should push it further and make the transportation stable, tinkering with wormhole theory. Realizing how far they can take their research, Nate calls his father and asks for funding, promising that they will be able to have a demonstration soon. One evening, Nate and Anna head to their regular spot for a drink to unwind. Anna brags about her talent for making objects vanish and performs a magic trick for him. After he unravels the illusion, the two share a moment charged with sexual tension, each harboring undisclosed feelings for the other. One morning, when Anna comes to the lab after checking all the plants they had teleported were genetically unaltered, she is met with a surprise when her colleagues tell her that they have stabilized the teleportation sphere on a small scale. Anna cannot speak from surprise as she sees the energy sphere refracting light. Recognizing that they have perfected their prototype, the group resolves to test it on a living animal. They place a small caterpillar in front of the device and eagerly await the results. When they activate the machine and the animal is safely transported, they excitedly high-five each other. Advancing their research, they experiment with the device on larger animals, beginning with a mouse and then Liv's grandmother's cat, all of which successfully make the transition. A few days later, the group visits Liv's grandmother to see the condition of the cat and is glad to see it was not affected by their experiment. While Liv and her grandmother are speaking in the other room, Nate awkwardly asks Anna on a date, creating a tense moment between them. Before she could answer, Liv burst into the room cursing and telling them that Microsoft was going to shut down their servers because they were using it illegally. With their presentation scheduled for Friday, they would have nothing to showcase if they were shut down before then. Understanding the need for a significant breakthrough, Anna proposes that they commence human trials, a suggestion the group unanimously supports. They leave the selection of the first human jumper to chance, and Anna draws the short straw. Quickly constructing a bigger device, they test the stability and place Anna in the center of it. While doing system checks, Anna tells them that she is scared, but her colleagues encourage her, telling her that her success would surely lead her to a Nobel Prize. Before the machine starts, Anna tells Nate that he owes her a movie, prompting him to give her a gentle kiss on the lips. Once the camera is ready and filming, Anna allows Liv to start the machine. Once Liv presses the machine, her surroundings turn completely dark, her screams audible in the emptiness. When Anna wakes up, she finds herself in her bed and with no clue how she got there. After feeling a bit sick, Anna gets dressed and heads out to their lab. At the entrance of the building, she is badgered by an animal rights activist, but she refuses to indulge him as she isn't feeling well. In the lab, she discovers Liv and Nate dismantling the equipment. She informs Nate that she is still feeling unwell and pledges to avoid heavy drinking in the future. Liv explains to Anna that they are once again teleporting items at an atomic level due to the server issue and that her experiment was successful, but Anna finds their response suspicious. Feeling unsettled by everything, Anna calls her mother, and finds solace in her words. Upon returning to her apartment, she discovers the door open and the place in disarray. While investigating, she encounters a person wearing a monkey mask carrying her belongings. She confronts and ultimately pushes the intruder out of a window. While continuing to chase the introducer, she loses her footing and hits her head. Upon awakening, she discovers herself in a secluded alley, her credit card missing. Upon returning home, she confides in her mother, who suggests contacting the authorities, but Anna decides against it. The next day, at the lab, she shares the news with her colleagues, expressing her dismay that their work was stolen, only to find them indifferent, which greatly troubles Anna. While sitting in the cafe, Liv shows them an email sent out by the school, announcing that whoever created the worm and those who have been using the servers illegally must come forward immediately, as it was considered cyber terrorism. Although she sees they're worried, Liv carelessly tells her colleagues that the university is a big place and that they would never be found. Back at the lab, Anna observes Liv and Nate behaving even more oddly than before. Nate, who previously had a dislike for Liv, now appears to be more concerned about her than Anna, while Liv's attitude towards Anna becomes increasingly impolite. Remembering that she still has to check for alterations, Anna takes samples from herself and tries to enter the other room, which used to always be open, and finds it locked. After sharing a suspicious look, Liv and Nate tell her maintenance must have locked it and that they would check. Seeing that she is agitated, Nate tells Anna to grab something to eat and have some rest, assuring her that he will put her samples in the incubators. As soon as she leaves, Nate warns Liv not to antagonize Anna, telling her that she could ruin everything for them, then throws the samples in the trash. Heading out of the building, she encounters the same animal activist who had spoken to her last time and recognizes his jacket from the man who had stolen her work. Hoping she could find more answers, Anna sneaks into the building that night and makes her way to the empty lab. While looking around, she gets a call from Nate, who asks her to meet him the following night for dinner. Feeling like she cannot trust Nate, she begins writing things down in a small notebook. The night she meets Nate for dinner, he asks her why she is paranoid, explaining to her that there is nothing to investigate. Giving her a pen, he tells her to write it down. Watching him intently, she asks him to kiss her, which he refuses to do, making her suspect Nate further. The following day, Anna finds Liv and Nate in the lab and asks them about her camcorder. When she finds out it was with Nate, she asks him to bring it back immediately so she has an idea of what they're doing. Her constant questions begin to agitate Liv, making her even ruder than usual. While the two are arguing, a girl walks into the lab and tells them the Chancellor has called a meeting. Once all of the researchers in the building had gathered, the Chancellor explained that the worm that infected millions of computers had been traced to the building, and a man by the name of Stovington had been sent from GCHQ to investigate. Suddenly, Anna finds herself in their usual bar, sitting in front of Liv and Nate, who are discussing how to bypass the investigation. Looking back at her colleagues, Anna accuses them of attempting to steal her project, which they find ridiculous. Rushing out of the bar, she tries to dial her number, but stops when she sees Stovington staring at her. As she walks out of his view, she dials her mother's number. Her mother instructs her to say a password, as she had previously warned her not to speak unless a special word was mentioned. While she tries to comprehend this, her mother informs her that someone is at the door and advises her to call back when she feels better. As the camera zooms out, we see Anna's mother sitting alone in the middle of her empty house, with the telephone being her only possession. Following the peculiar incident, Anna heads to the library to dive into research on memory storage and the concept of the soul. Later that evening, she returns home and stays awake all night, attempting to determine if her memory loss is linked to sleep. As morning arrives and she realizes her memory remains intact, she becomes convinced that her issues are directly linked to Nate and Liv. Getting dressed and heading to her lab, she finds Liv and Nate already aware that she had broken in the previous night. Having already called the maintenance man, she asks him to open the chemical storeroom, but he tells her that he had already given her the keys. Seeing her confusion, Liv and Nate assure the maintenance man that they will retrieve the lost keys and send him on his way, immediately accusing her of putting them at risk. Unwilling to listen to what she feels is deceit, Anna leaves the lab and immediately feels like she's being chased by the police. While avoiding them, she runs into Stovington, who calls her in for a quick conversation. Once they're inside, Stovington tells her that they know she wrote the code for the worm, but that they didn't know what it didn't. Refusing any allegations, she heads out of the room and is attacked by the animal rights activists who accuse her of animal cruelty and threaten to shut her down. Escaping the crowd, she finds someone where to be alone and thinks about her next move. Deciding that she must pull together if she was to take any answers, she buckles down and heads to Nate's house. There, she discovers proof that Nate and Liv are sleeping together, which breaks her heart. Finding the tapes, she goes through the footage of the day of the experiment and realizes that during the exact moment she disappeared, there had been two of her in existence. While rewinding and watching the footage repeatedly, she is startled by Nate standing right behind her. She asks him to explain the image on the computer, but when he tells her he would clear things up in the lab, she accidentally grazes him with a bullet before running out to the street. Now sure that she has lost her soul, Anna begins wandering around the street until Liv eventually finds her. Taking her back to the lab, they showed her the original footage she had seen and then explained that they had done the experience twice. As the video continues, she sees herself getting into the machine again, but this time, two of her exist at the same time. After instructing her to examine her samples, Anna places her blood drop in the microscope and is startled to find nothing there. Frustrated by the recurring occurrences, Liv informs Anna that she is an anomaly. Nate elaborates, explaining that she was the light left behind when they pulled her through the wormhole, which is why she didn't exist in the usual manner, consume food or drink, or form memories. Understanding the implications, Anna gazes at the locked storeroom and witnesses her true self emerging. The genuine Anna apologizes for the confusion her other self experienced, expressing that she also felt hollow, as if something was amiss. Liv informs Anna that she has rewritten the code and can rectify the anomaly, but Anna is fearful that she will perish, despite their assurances that she would simply be reunited with herself. Weeping in fear, she begs them to let her stay in the lab, but they explained that they had tried that before, but she kept hurting herself and them. Finally giving up, the anomaly Anna agrees to be reunited with herself. Taking them for being patient with her, she walks to the machine and lets them activate it. As the anomaly vanishes, Anna experiences a sense of completeness. The group celebrates their triumph and deliberates on the next steps for their project. Continuing their discussion about the experiment and funding, the group leaves the lab to grab a meal, filled with hope and anticipation for the future. And with that, the movie ends.